There is no evil. What's up, folks? This is Justin Garcia, aka Master Chim, and I'm here with the white, not evil, because there is no evil, Patrick Kelly, white boy Pat.
What's up?
And welcome to another episode of The Pressure Project. ThePressureProject.com is our website. Info at ThePressureProject.com is our contact email. ThePressureProjectMembers.com is our membership site. Check it out. So today we're going to talk about a concept that is found in so much weakness today that it's I felt it needed its own episode.
Yeah, I agree.
And 196 episodes in, if I think anything even remotely needs its own episode, it's probably going to get
its own episode.
But
I was looking through the list though. We don't have any fillers. I'm not looking through it like, oh yeah, we mailed that one in.
Yeah, well, you know what?
We have a lot of stuff.
Well, one of the things that I think happens organically is we speak about so much content, or we have so much content out there where we cover so many issues that the sort of permutations of different perspectives and the different sort of subtleties in our positions, we give enough attention to warrant its own conversation.
Correct.
You know?
Yeah.
And so much of the stuff we put out there. I mean, not only do we have 196 episodes, or including this one, we have, like on a membership site, we have the Loyalty Matrix Decoded, we have the Warrior Continuum series. We have my live shows that I do on Facebook.
Yeah, those are awesome.
Not even including all my memes.
Yeah.
We got a couple of projects, by the way, we'll talk about later. But, all the content that's out there, one of the things that I find happens all the time is people don't have time to consume.
I've heard
everything.
that. Yeah. They're behind. Like I'm behind 50 episodes. It's
right.
like, all right.
And the thing is, with the live streams, I tend to try and keep everything a little bit more current events based.
Yeah.
But
it's more stream of consciousness, kind of like it's good. Those are different and good.
Right. So the format being different, I find it a little bit more engaging with the actual listeners that are there on the show. But with the podcast, it's really, I've always said from the beginning, this is a sort of body of work.
Yeah.
That could sort of be timeless in its presentation. One of the things that motivated me in the beginning was to sort of get all this stuff out there for my kids.
Yeah.
So my opinion on all these different things, my kids, when they're older, they'll be able to listen to and see, where I was. Not that I plan on being dead, but
true.
Hey, life is a highway. So you never know.
No one lives forever.
That's true. So today we're going to talk about this concept. So
yeah,
the time it's brought up most frequently in my daily conversations is in the victimization mindset.
Yeah,
the slave morality versus the master morality of Nietzsche's canon, and its applications on today's mindset. When we say there is no evil, we're not saying something that hasn't been said before.
True.
I am a tremendous fan of Nietzsche's work, and this is something that's a very, very significant, aspect of his philosophy.
Yeah.
When you get into the Übermensch, the concept of becoming more, transcending, who we are as individuals now, I think the concept of evil is seen as something almost primitive.
It is. Things that you don't understand.
Right. And it's something that I think we need to articulate to the point where it stops being, the boogeyman.
Yeah. Call me old-fashioned, but I think we should worship the sun and moon as gods and fear them.
Right. But this is the whole thing,
Yeah.
So let's get some definitions going. All right.
Cool.
Let's start with evil. And this one I found online. Some of the times, depending on how much of our stuff you guys have listened to, there are times where we'll take definitions off of, the internet or out of a dictionary or whatnot. And there are also times where we have our own interpretation of a definition.
True.
And the first one we're going to define as evil. This is from the dictionary, or probably dictionary.com. Evil is defined as profound immorality, wickedness, and depravity, especially when regarded as a supernatural force.
Yeah.
Right? Hinting at, what I think ultimately evil, is a product of.
Bullshit.
Bullshit. Right?
Yeah.
The next definition I found, because it talks about immorality, and immorality is something we've touched on many times before.
Yeah.
And both on the podcast and in real life.
True. 100%.
And
Yeah.
and but we have broken down what morality is and how it sort of fits into our philosophies on masculinity and empowering the modern man to become stronger. And our definition of morals is a person's standards of behavior or beliefs concerning what is and is not acceptable for them to do. So when we say morality, it's a very personal thing.
Yeah.
Right? There is no universal morality. There is no, position on morality that is not exclusive to you. Whether it's a completely opposite morality from somebody else, or just very subtle in its differences, there is never going to be a mirrored morality, right?
Yeah.
And
we did a whole episode on that.
We did, and I think it was 188, and I don't think that one's archived yet.
No, it's not.
Yeah, so it's still available if you want to listen to it. If you're not a member, if you're a member, you can listen to it whenever you want.
And another little footnote: if you're new, the canon episodes, you can find a lot of stuff that has been deemed important enough that we have up all the time in the canon section. Check that out.
Right, and that's what we'll do every once in a while. We'll take one of the archived episodes and we'll put them into the canon collection, which is available for everybody. And really, the reason we're doing that is just because, just like Pat said, we want, we think it's so important that you guys need to see it because it really represents what we're trying to do. Yeah, significantly. Right?
100%.
So evil, profound immorality, morals, something basically that's specific to the individual. Now, why do I think, or why am I always chastising somebody for acting either outright, saying something's evil, or acting like someone who believes in evil, because of the weakness that's inherent in that perspective.
Yeah.
I created a list. I love my lists.
Lists are good.
Right. And this is the 4 liabilities of evilers. Right? Evilers.
Evilers.
We will define an eviler as somebody who believes in the concept of evil.
Yes, someone who subscribes to the existence of evil.
Right. So, the 4 liabilities of evilers.
Yes.
Evilers. I never sounded it out when I was
evilers.
typing it.
It sounds good.
It works.
Yeah.
Because you can't say evildoers.
No.
Because that's somebody who does evil.
They follow evil on Instagram.
Right.
That's the evilers.
They've liked their fan page.
Yes.
So evilers.
Evilers.
Number 1, they see an act as inherently intentional.
Yeah.
This is a big one because, and I'm going to try my best, and I'm going to recruit you to try your best.
Okay. I'm
to
always
not overstep, because we have 4 things here.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to read them.
What has happened from time to time is we tend to
jump
get
ahead
into the other ones during the early ones, right? So there are differences in these, and we need to flesh them out.
Yeah, I see that.
Or we just need to wait until they're fleshed out.
Understood.
Generally speaking.
Yeah, I get it. Understood.
So number 1, they see an act as inherently intentional. What that means is something happens. Well, not that you guys don't speak fucking English, but to explain why I put that on a list. When somebody believes in evil, there is this very common theme of finding out, where the intent was in this thing happening. And in practical application, it's usually not very efficient, a thought process. It's usually something that tends to blow out of proportion these acts that may happen to the individual because they are looking for the intent. They're looking for the person in lieu of the person, the force that is setting these things in motion. All right. So it's a liability because you're looking for something that may not be there. Right. So at a minimum, its liability is in its inefficiency when dealing, with the act itself.
Yeah,
right?
that makes sense.
Number 2, and you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try and get through the list quickly, so then we can go and talk about it, because it's just going to happen. We're going to start stepping.
I'm not going to do that at
I
all.
almost did it. I just almost did it. I had to catch myself. I'm just trying to make you feel comfortable.
I feel very comfortable.
Number two. They recruit emotion into the loop.
Yeah.
So think about it. We say, or Nietzsche says, master morality, it's good and bad.
Yeah. Good and bad. What's good, what's bad?
Slave morality, it's good and evil.
Correct.
Right.
Evil.
So if we use that as a sort of compass for, how we should gauge, what is evil and who are the types of people that believe in evil. Emotion is part of it, something that we're supposed to feel.
Yeah.
Right. And we know that emotion is inconsistent. It's not to be trusted. It's the spice of life.
Correct.
Right. But it introduces it unnecessarily, and the loop I'm speaking about, the feedback loop, could be the OODA loop, right? Little John Boyd.
Yeah.
We got to do an OODA loop episode. But
it's on the list.
It is on the list.
Yeah.
But it introduces, the liability of believing in the concept of evil, of being an eviler.
Yeah.
Is you do recruit emotion into your process.
Yes.
And very rarely will that ever be a good thing, right? Certainly not in this instance. Number 3, they create a supernatural element, sabotaging accountability.
Yeah.
So the minute and we do this a lot with blame, right?
Yes.
In the Code of 47, I wrote, always blame yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Let whether it is actually your fault or not be irrelevant.
Correct.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
And the reason, as soon as you blame yourself, you enter or begin the journey to finding solutions.
Yeah.
When something is just thrown aside or relegated as being supernatural, labeled supernatural, it is beyond, by definition, your ability to control.
It's not your fault.
You are no longer in control of anything. You give up control to something that you don't have. Now, I will say the great Nietzsche quote: the two narcotics of Europeans, alcohol and Christianity.
Yeah.
I would add to that, not looking to piggyback on a Nietzsche quote,
sure,
but as a interpretation of that, a response to that, a reflection of that.
Yep.
I will say both of them being instances where we look to avoid culpability,
of course,
accountability, and we sabotage our ability to be powerful in the face of these instances.
Well, sometimes you have to let Jesus take the wheel.
Right?
No.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh, Christianity, you crazy Christians, you.
He has a plan. He has a plan for us all.
It's funny, before you start going over the deep end. I'm always, and I'll be honest with you guys. I'm very honest with you guys. I think you guys understand that at this point, at least. I'm always trying to not alienate our Christian followers.
Yeah.
But it's like,
but they know it's bullshit.
This guy.
Somewhere in there, they're like, if they're listening.
But the thing is, here's the thing. I don't, as soon as I just label them, or as soon as I put them in a box, right?
Yeah.
I let them finish, and once they're done with the box, no. As soon as I put them in a box, I draw I create a divider between us.
Yes.
Right. So what I would rather do is like meet each one of you individually and talk about your Christianity. Because I don't think it's productive to sit here and just, blanketly just say, you're all fucking idiots.
No, I'm not.
It doesn't, but I will say in this application, right, we see how that is an example of an illustration of this, right?
True.
A liability, they create a supernatural element sabotaging accountability. God works in mysterious ways.
Yeah. God gave me cancer.
God gave me cancer.
I think the cancer probably gave you cancer, but whatever. Probably
it was
not.
God disguised as cancer.
That God. I got to call him up. We didn't need to have a talk.
300 people on a plane. One guy survives.
Yeah.
God is good. Don't tell that to the other fucking 299. I'm getting into it. I didn't want to get into it, but you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
My point is, let's use the plane crash as an example.
Yes.
If you say that is the work or the act of a supernatural force.
Yes, supernatural.
You don't fix the fucking plane.
Yeah.
The motivation to fix what went wrong is affected.
You can't do anything about it.
Maybe not sabotaged. I mean, realistically,
Yeah.
you are looking for, I would speculate, right? That one would be looking, if you are somebody who believes in the supernatural and the concept of evil, there has to be some component to your reaction to that just says, you know what, this is what they wanted.
Yeah.
This is beyond my control. Sometimes this shit just happens.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he doesn't exist.
What a great fucking sales campaign.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing. It's like,
oh my
everything
God.
that's bad, this other guy. Everything that's good, Jesus Christ.
But that, it's easy. It's easy
It
when you create that false dichotomy.
Yes.
Which is a logical fallacy, by the way. So
it is.
Number 4.
Yes.
Number 1, they see an act as inherently intentional. Number 2, they recruit emotion into the loop. Number 3, they create a supernatural element, sabotaging accountability. And number 4,
yes,
they focus on the why it happened rather than how to overcome its effects.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
In Nietzsche's book, I believe it was Beyond Good and Evil, you get this position that he expresses as evil being something that is a condition of who we are now, and how there was a time when what happened before an event was not what allowed us to develop a morality.
Yeah.
It was what happened after it, or the effects of said event, that allowed us to design a morality. And I think evil is a condition that as a society, though the concept of evil is a condition that as a society we suffer from because it has us looking in the wrong direction.
Yeah, it does.
Somebody comes with a car, they hit our best friend and they drive off.
Yeah.
And we're looking where they came from.
Yeah, exactly.
And that is evil in motion, right? The concept of evil and its effects on us as a society. As an individual, it's the great cop-out, I personally feel.
Yeah. God must hate your best friend.
Right. It's the way where everything is somebody else's doing, and that somebody is so much more powerful than you are that you're, I'm just a squirrel trying to get a nut.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's like I have no control over my fate, my destiny, my surroundings. And there are a lot of worldviews and philosophies.
Yes, there are.
That encourage that.
Yes.
That encourage the acceptance of inferiority, the acceptance of submission. And I think evil is a great component to the currency that is exchanged in those philosophies.
It's a method of control.
Right. You need to believe in evil in order to have them get you to do all the shit they get you to do.
Yeah.
There was a great quote. Oh, what is the quote? It takes something. I don't know why I even brought it up because I don't remember it completely.
Okay.
But it's to the effect of, and maybe you guys can help me out. It's to the effect of, it takes somebody getting you to believe in preposterous things in order to get you to do, preposterous things, something to that effect and that's exactly, what I think evil is a tool of. It's a tool of the methodology that allows control.
Yes, it's control.
It allows control. If I get you to, when you were a kid, step on a crack, break your mama's back.
Yeah.
Like, think about that.
Yes.
How many kids at some point, whether they were retarded, weak, or just too young to really, know what
their
the
mother's
going on,
back would break?
like we're avoiding cracks because of their love for their mother.
Did you see the cartoon?
I did when it actually happened. They showed it. Yeah.
Well, the funny part of the cartoon is step on a crack, break your mother's back. Step on a line, break your father's spine, and the neighbor's spine broke.
Right.
That was funny.
That was the punchline.
Yeah, that was
pretty good.
That was funny. Anyway,
but this is my point. You know,
Yeah.
so these methods of manipulation are
Yeah.
very universal. Have been around since the dawn of time.
the evil eye.
Right, but that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
evolved into these more sophisticated applications in society, and in evil that's platinum level currency right there.
It is.
When it comes to control.
It is 100%.
All right, so I'm going to read a quote, and this is from a gentleman named Friedrich Nietzsche.
Who's that? He sounds cool.
Some Italian guy, I think.
Yeah.
Italian basketball player.
Awesome.
And I quote, digressions, objections, delight and mockery, carefree mistrust are signs of health. Everything unconditional belongs in pathology.
Yeah.
So, bypassing the first part of that quote and going to the second for a moment, everything unconditional belongs in pathology. And this is the core of what Nietzsche is inspiring or attempting to inspire mankind to become, to do. You know, nothing is unconditional because everything is a process, right?
Yeah.
One of the things at the core of Nietzsche's philosophy is the concept of the Übermensch. Now, it's my understanding and my experience in reading his work that it's not a huge part. You know, he's not talking about the Übermensch every other paragraph in his works, but it is probably the application or the fruition of his mindset on what we are to do.
Yeah.
And one of the big things in becoming the Übermensch is that we are doing just that. We are becoming, right? We're not being the Übermensch. We are constantly becoming the Übermensch. We are constantly transcending our current state. At no point do we reach a sort of promised land. Right?
Correct.
Well, in order to apply that to one's life, we cannot be bogged down by these unconditional concepts.
Correct. Yeah.
Where nothing's on the table anymore.
Nope.
You know,
All bets are off.
this is permanent. There is no permanence, right? We cannot believe in the idea of permanence.
Yeah.
If we're looking to sort of take on and embody an identity that has us constantly, perennially becoming more.
Yeah. Climbing the ladder of strength.
Right. So the concept of evil
Yeah.
is something that completely contradicts that. It's something that completely weakens, you know, our ability to become more, because it takes control of our lives and destiny out of our hands. And for all the liabilities that I mentioned, you know, it becomes something that that sort of skews your ability to navigate, you know, your life.
Yes.
When you believe in this evil. So let's talk about the pressure player.
Okay.
You know, pretty predictable.
Who is it?
I chose this Armenian cello player.
Yeah, he's good.
His name is Friedrich Nietzsche.
Yeah. I've heard his work. Very, very,
very
good.
profound.
Yeah, he's good.
And
I'm not a big fan of the cello, but when he plays it, 100%.
it's like jazz, baby. So Nietzsche in a podcast episode that says there is no evil, it's kind of, you know, expected if you've read his work. And if you haven't, please do. I've been trying to get him on the podcast, but
yeah, we should get
I'm having some difficulty. But he is at the top of my list. If I had a list that transcended the afterlife.
Yes. What time machine?
So I'm like, Odin, lend me Friedrich. He's like, no.
Heimdall, open the Bifrost. We have to go talk to Nietzsche.
Heimdall is playing basketball again.
Yeah.
So
So
Nietzsche is somebody who is all about strength, somebody who's all about, you know, not reducing ourselves to this sort of just insignificant, powerless submission that so many people are convincing us that we should embody.
of course.
You know, getting into religions and not wanting to just stay on the topic of Christianity. But if you read your Nietzsche, that was his arch enemy, it would seem.
Yeah. He never met a Muslim. Might have changed his tune.
So
Anyway.
it's true. So the whole thing with Nietzsche and Christianity, I think can really be represented. It doesn't have to stay there. It could really be a representative of a larger conceptual, position of just being against anything that he deemed submissive.
Yeah.
We see it in movies, like one of the things that I recall growing up watching movies and I admit I was terrible with like scary movies.
Yeah.
They aggravated me.
Yeah.
They always aggravated me. I hated the suspense. I hated because I was always trying to figure out how to beat the guy.
Sure.
And so many people die in those movies.
Yeah.
So it was like losing reps, It's like, God damn it, I didn't make it out of that one either. So as a kid, this is just what was going on in my head. But one of the things that it does when you talk about evil, and I went on a tangent there. I lost my way a little bit.
Movies.
Right. Well, talking about the movies, it's one of those things where I always wanted to win. And if I couldn't win, I felt like, and by win, meaning I wanted the characters to survive. And they didn't survive. I felt like it was beyond my control. But then you'll see this in and maybe, being exposed to the amount of movies I have at this point, I've been able to see the different types of characters.
Yeah.
You'll see characters that in the most dire of circumstances, they're still in control.
They are, yeah.
Obi-Wan, Darth Vader.
Yeah. Strike me down, I'll become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
It's such a nerd. It's like a little nerd softball.
Yep.
Right?
I saw, like in the corner of my eye, you basically did that.
Right. So the whole thing is, even in the face of death, you still have control.
You do.
The dichotomy always exists. You always have, I could do this or this.
Yeah.
Right? One of the great things to give credit where it's due, in SIOC and dealing with SIOC. And one of the aspects of SIOC training is something called LOT.
Yeah.
And
very good.
And it's training you in these types of thought patterns. It's training you to process things as clearly as possible. And doing the LOT in SIOC has really given me so many more tools than I had previously. And there are conclusions that I can come to now that I couldn't quite articulate as specifically as I can now because of the LOT of SIOC. But the point, getting back to our topic, is evil is taking away that option. Evil is taking away that control. Evil is making you submit. When you are an eviler, you submit to an idea, to a force, to a process, to a condition, but you submit nonetheless.
You do.
Maintaining a choice, because you always have a choice. Maintaining that choice, is what empowers the individual. Even in the most dire scenarios, we always have a choice. The minute you reduce that to, you're being victimized by evil, you lose that perspective. You do. So Nietzsche, you're the man.
Yep.
The unicorn.
The unicorn.
It's this other guy.
Yeah.
This guy's from Poland. He owns a chain of Polish pizza shops.
Yeah. It's got a catchy name.
But he puts the cheese and the sauce on the bottom of the dough.
Yeah, that's not good.
They don't do it right in Poland.
No.
But they call him the Pope.
The Pope.
Right? The Pope.
The Pope of Greenwich Village. No.
The unicorn
Yeah.
is a gentleman by the name of the Pope. He lives in the Vatican City,
Yeah.
which is a sovereign, city in the middle of
It's its
Italy.
own country, pretty much.
It's just retarded.
Yeah.
But he recently, the Pope,
Are we talking about the current Pope or all popes?
it changes?
Yeah.
I thought it was one guy, like the Dalai Lama.
Yeah, no.
So the Pope, some call him the Poppy.
Do they?
Because they don't know how to read. But the Pope,
The Poppy.
the Pope is, he just recently came to the U.S., did his tour,
He did.
spread his weakness.
We went and saw him.
Spread No, we didn't.
No, that would have been funny though.
It would have been.
Yeah.
Get him. I've tried to get him on a podcast, but
Yeah, he was like,
he keeps turning us down.
nah.
But the Pope, the reason why he would be the antithesis of Nietzsche in this conversation is he is somebody who trades on the currency of evil.
Yeah.
He is somebody whose very identity at its core is representative of this just obstructive, disabling, weakening, controlling, manipulative identity that is the Catholic Church.
Yeah. And you know that little glass case he drives around in? You know what they call it?
What?
God's plan. That's what they call it.
Awesome.
Because, obviously,
Right.
yeah,
But it's sometimes you go a little bit too subtle and abstract in your references.
How was that one? Too
Terrible.
subtle.
That was terrible.
So basically what I'm saying is
I'm helping you guys out right now.
God's plan. If God had a plan for him and he was good and he was supposed to do what he's supposed to do, he wouldn't need a bulletproof case because no one would shoot him. So it is a contradiction for him to drive around in a bulletproof case. That's circumventing God's plan. So therefore the case is God's plan.
You guys got that? Okay. So, so random abstract reference, man.
Yes.
So with the Pope, you see somebody who, if you take away the concept of evil, or if you have a humanity that no longer, that we've transcended,
yeah,
the point or the phase of our development that believed in evil, people like the Pope wouldn't exist.
He'd just be a guy in a funny hat.
He'd be a guy in a funny hat, which to me,
he still is a guy, just a guy in a funny hat.
But when you see people, just completely turn their lives upside down. And, we got to see it at a higher level, being that he was in the U.S.
Yeah.
These people crying and looking at him and kissing his hand and worshiping this man, this fallible South American man.
Some guy from Argentina.
Fucking you all deserve what you get.
It is what it is.
I try so hard to not look at these people in just utter disgust, but it's difficult when you are on the outside looking in, right? But the Pope, we'll leave it there. We just
the Pope, Father Guido Sarducci.
Remember that? We'll leave it at that. Yeah. So, all right, we moved along here.
Yeah, crushing it.
And I could probably ramble on a little bit more, but I think I'd just wind up reiterating things I've already said.
Okay.
All right. There is no evil.
Yes.
Break it down, you white motherfucker.
So there is no evil. Very important concept. Children. Okay. Let's start with kids. Kids have no idea what's going on. They're little. They don't know anything. They're being taught what's right, what's wrong. They're being brought up, introducing this concept to their lives about evil. Think about what that does to them. It's not a very good thing. Once you become an adult, things like the boogeyman, things like, what's under the bed, being afraid of the dark, all that stuff goes away. To quote their book, when I was a babe, I spoke as a babe. I thought as a babe. When I became a man, I put away childish things. That's what we're doing now. Okay. We're adults. There is no evil. It's time to move into the future and let go of daddy's hand. And let's actually do things with the right frame of mind. And starting with eliminating the concept of evil is first and foremost.
It's funny. Well said. It's funny that, you use the imagery of, letting go of daddy's hand when so many religious, movements, it's based on finding that hand once again.
Yeah.
And
never letting go.
Right. And then thereby embodying, the role of a child.
Yeah.
That's how these things are sold. When we look at the concept of evil, it's not very different to what we see in, as an example, modern day hate crimes.
Yeah.
If I murder somebody, it warrants a certain consequence. But if I murder them for the right reason, it affects the consequence of the action.
Yeah.
It's a move away from the actions themselves. We enter into this abstract realm of emotion and inconsistent, filtered, biased logic. And it takes us away from our relationship with reality, right? When we look at so many different philosophies and political positions of today, we see oftentimes, the people we call the leaves of society, we see this disconnect from the feedback loop of reality. And it's concepts like evil that allow us to get there. If I'm attacked by a bear in the woods,
Yeah.
I'm going to die just the same, whether the bear is good or evil. I'm going to.
I don't think you're going to die.
Right. If I die. Right.
I'm voting. I think you kill a bear.
I'm going to have a plan. But regardless of what the outcome is, assigning evil, to the identity of the bear changes nothing in terms of reality, in terms of what happens. But when you have people that are trading in the currency of manipulation and control, these are the tools that are very necessary. I remember seeing a movie, it's got to be 10, 15 years ago at this point, and the setting was down in Louisiana. And there were some, what's the black magic mumbo jumbo? What's it called again? Voodoo.
Yeah.
There were some voodoo practitioners who would transcend generations by taking over bodies of new people. Like they would have
Serpent in the Rainbow.
Was that it?
I think so, yeah.
I don't know. But at the end, the whole thing was they had two people who...
Oh, wait. You're talking about the skeleton key.
Yes.
It's a brand new movie.
Skeleton key.
Yeah.
And one of the things that had to happen before they could take over these people's bodies is they had to make them believers first.
Correct. Yeah.
And once they believed in the voodoo,
then it works.
That's when the voodoo worked.
Which makes sense.
And I found that to be, an interesting, part of the plot line. Because
her husband's caught in the old dude and he's trying to he's all messed up. Yeah. That's good. Decent.
And that is that's the thing.
Yep.
That
walked into that one.
Well, that's that's the thing that I think really needs to be sort of put into one. Now, understand, because I'm going to start saying the same shit over again. What I'm trying to tell you guys, listeners, is I'm trying to tell you that nobody could have this conversation for you. Some of you are not even at the point where somebody could have the conversation with you. This is a conversation that you need to have by yourself. This needs to be sort of processed. So much of what we go over, but things like this, probably more than others, need to be dealt with introspectively. You need to meditate on this stuff. You need to be honest with yourself. Now, I'm not speaking to Christians like, listen, it's bullshit. We're waiting for you. We're just going to leave the door unlocked. Come in when you're ready. I'm not saying that, although that is always true. But what I'm saying is, if we are not being honest with ourselves, if we are not admitting where our vulnerabilities lie, if we're not admitting what weaknesses, aka future strengths, we are still maintaining, how are we ever going to map out a process by which we become stronger? Right? I am incredibly imperfect. And those imperfections, those future strengths, as I like to call them, I try to be as honest with myself as possible. That's where my tribe comes in sort of keeping me honest. And I have a very solid group of brothers that do that constantly. My wife I trust tremendously. And there are times where I will get checked on my perspective. And I will have a maybe an inconsistency, pointed out to me. And I take it upon myself to go, all right, wait a minute, let me sit down, let me work this out. Because I don't want to be the guy that gets to sort of hide in the shadows of my vulnerability, just to be comfortable. I see so many people out there who talk about, how much money they have, how strong they are, how big their muscles are, how many women they've had sex with. And all these things, they come off as a compensation. They come off as a shield, that they're trying to create over their vulnerabilities rather than strengthening them, rather than bridging those gaps, sealing those holes, closing those seams, in one's approach to becoming stronger. They would rather go the way of comfort. And the problem with that is, it's like, imagine you had a house with 100 rooms, and 30, 40 of those rooms are torn to pieces. Eventually, as these rooms start to wither away, and if you don't clean these rooms, you don't maintain these rooms, you'll be reduced to one room in this huge mansion. And you'll talk about this one room like it is a representation of how strong you are, how perfect you are, how rich you are, how successful you are, all these different things. And you will never take them to any other room. And you have to act for whatever reason, like those rooms, aren't available, to be seen.
Yeah.
So your whole life will exist in that one room. What I would rather do is admit right at the front end, listen, this is an imperfect building, but I'm working on cleaning every single room. And by the way, you can walk in any one of them. And if you see anything that's wrong, please let me know, because I will make sure that I fix it. That is a process where the building becomes improved, and it becomes the mansion, right, at the end of that mission, right? See, that is a reference, a metaphor.
It's good.
But too many people, they don't want to do that.
No.
And as soon as you tell yourself that it is not weakness that is keeping you from doing that, you're lying to yourself. It's our job to put the information there. It's our job to show you different maps, right? To bring up certain concepts. But I can't make you follow this. I can't make you believe this.
Nope.
Right? It's not up to us. We can't force you to do that. For all I know, somebody's going to be listening to this 50 years from now.
It's possible, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What do I know? I could be a hologram right now.
That'd be awesome. It's true.
Right? Think about that.
Yeah.
Pretty cool to think about.
Maybe they'll finally have hoverboards.
But the whole thing is, when it comes to evil, which is the theme of the hour, we cannot succumb to the weaknesses of who we were in the past. There needs to be a process, right? Nietzsche says, become who you are. Well, who are we? Are we people that are scared of the dark? Are we people that think that the boogeyman's out to get us? If we are, we're in trouble. Thank you, folks, for listening. It's been a great talk. Appreciate you guys spending the time with us. ThePressureProject.com is our website. Info@ThePressureProject.com is our contact email. Send us some feedback. We'd love to hear it. ThePressureProjectMembers.com is our membership site. If you've ever gotten anything out of this podcast, if maybe this episode was your introduction and you want to hear more, you want to listen to more, check out the membership site. There's a 3-month membership, starts $25, goes up from there. You can cancel at any time, and we could definitely use the support. And we appreciate every single one of you that has done it so far and have joined us behind the curtain. Again, thank you, folks. We look forward to speaking to you in the next episode. And as always, brothers, pressure to power.